Hi, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful edition of the Resident Rulebreakers. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
And on today's podcast, we are interviewing Radek Lord, who played Grayson Betournay on The Resident, Dr. Bell's assistant. And let's just say...
You're going to be laughing a lot.
Yeah. The interview you're about to watch or listen to, you're going to be laughing. Radek's hilarious. And it's we hope to see him in season 4. And we hope to have him on the podcast again. So,
well, he said he'll be back after season 4.
Yeah.
So, Radek, we are going to keep you to that promise.
Before we get into Radek's interview, we want to remind you that next week we are going to be interviewing Jessica Miesel, who plays Nurse Jessica. And so stay tuned for that. So without further ado, we're going to bring Radek in and talk to him.
Hey, Radek.
Hello. How are you guys?
Love. How are you doing? How is life to you?
It's boring. I'm not doing anything. I have my mask right here.
What does it say?
It's YHLQMDLG, and it stands for Yo hago lo que me da la gana, which is in Spanish for like it's an album of a Spanish artist. Because I'm Costa Rican. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I was born and raised in Costa Rica. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, Spanish.
Your family is from Costa Rica too?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really cool. Did not know that. Your like first language was Spanish.
Yeah, I didn't learn English until I was like 9 years old. But I lived in Costa Rica until I was 8. Moved to Belgium when I was 9. Then I finally moved to the U.S. when I was around 10, and I moved to Kentucky. And I loved it. I mean, just the nicest people on earth. And then I moved to California after high school. At 17, I moved out to California. And the rest is history. Actually, no, the rest is not history. It was a struggle for sure. I struggled for a long time with auditions and with managers and agents and all that stuff. I mean, it's so hard to like kind of start from scratch out here. So it took me, it took me 5 years to get the Resident. It took me 5 years. Wow. That's
I saw you posting stuff on Instagram from when you were younger. Like you had like shot acting roles or something.
Yeah. So I shot some stuff locally in Kentucky. I lived in Kentucky, but I went to high school in Cincinnati, so I would drive over the border to Ohio and go. I mean, it was like 20 minutes, but there was some local acting gigs. But none of that really means anything until you move out here. Because when I moved out here, I was like, I have a reel, I have a resume, I have headshots. Like, I'm gonna take over Hollywood. And nope. Took me a while. But I'm glad it took me as long as it did, because maybe I wouldn't have booked The Resident, but also I don't think I'd be as mature now, because, Hollywood kind of whips you in shape a little bit. Yeah, you go through ups and downs all the time. So, yeah, I'm glad it took me this long.
Tell us about the audition process. How did that go?
So it's odd because I audition all the time for big things, and after a certain point, you kind of just go into it, it's every other audition. But one thing I did specifically for this audition was when I was playing the video game, because I don't know if you guys remember the first episode I was in. It's Nightmares, and I'm just like at the desk playing video games.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're fired." And the one thing I think I did that no other actor did was go, "Yeah, wait, what?" Because I thought in my head, I'm like, Grayson, he's never had a job,
Right.
so he's probably thinking like, oh yeah, I'm fired, good one, and then he really is fired. So that was the one thing I did that I think set me apart. And yeah, it was just, if you're an actor, you go in, you audition, and you forget about it. You don't want to think about it, because if you think about it, it kind of just breaks your heart when you don't get it.
Yeah.
So I was just, as soon as I auditioned, I walked out of there, got in my car, and just forgot about it. Get a call like a week later saying, hey, they're flying you out to Atlanta. Oh, cool. Okay. And that was it. I auditioned in front of Scott Jenkinger. He is awesome. I've been in front of him a couple times actually before, and he's just awesome. And he loves to just like get the best out of you, and so he really took his time with me and made sure I got one word wrong in the audition, but I have some improv background, so I just covered it up and like kept going, and then he's like, okay, that was amazing. Let's just do it again. Just get that one word right. And I'm like, okay. We do it again, and I get it wrong again. And I'm like,
oh my god, the word.
I don't remember what the one word was, but he's like, he really wanted me to just nail it, because that's what you want in a casting director, someone who wants like the best out of you and who believes in you, and that's a good feeling. And then yeah. So that was it. But I just forgot about it until I got a call saying I got it. And back then I was still going to school, and like I got the news, and then I had to sit in a 3-hour lecture before I could share it with my parents, before I could tell anyone about it. So I was just like sitting in class like no one knows. That was a fun phone call too. That was a good one.
It was also, you were expecting it to be only one episode. It's hard to believe it's been like almost 2 seasons. I'm hoping 3. I'm hoping 3. Most of the fans of the Resident
We'll
watch back.
The biggest question we got was, are you coming back?
I love you guys. Like I love it. I love you guys. I love everyone that's always like, but what about Grayson? I don't know. Because it's not up to me, of course. It's up to the writers, which I get along really, really well with the writers. Like, yeah. I would rather, because I'm a fan of the show myself.
Yeah.
So I would rather have, like, a good episode, which is probably not smart business-wise. Like, of course I win the episode and all that. But
as a fan, you don't...
Yeah, I get why they're doing it. I completely understand. I want them to write the best episode they can possibly write, and not just have Grayson pop in like, hey guys, okay, bye. It's so funny. I'm like, I pitched one of the writers. I'm like, hey, so what about a spin-off series? Grayson and Bell. Yeah, and they were like, no. I called it. You know what I called it? I called it Grayson's Anatomy.
Shonda might have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, so that was. But I get it. So I hope Grayson's back. I hope he is. But we'll see. And I understand if he doesn't come back. Like if it doesn't serve the purpose, I understand. But yeah, I mean, I have so much fun filming it. And there's not a single bad thing I can say about the filming of the show or anyone on the show. Literally, and this sounds like, you know, every person that does an interview, they always say like, oh, everyone's so nice to work with. Oh, I just had the best time. No, like literally, these are the best people I've worked with. Like not one person is like snobby. Not one person's like mean or anything. Like everyone is just so cool. So I would love to just go back and work with the people, just to work with the people.
That's awesome.
You share most of your scenes with Bruce. How awesome is that? Did you get any pearls of wisdom from him?
So I did, but I learned this very early on in my career, is that you shouldn't ask for pearls, because when you ask people for like, you know, like knowledge, they tend to kind of give you something that's not practical, they kind of go like, oh, yeah, so the way, because I've worked with a lot of big actors in the past, but with Bruce, I decided to just sit back and watch, because everything he does, I'm just like looking at it as an actor. I'm like, whoa, like we can be in a scene together, and then I'll just be like, oh, it's my line. Yeah, right. Sorry. Like, I'm just watching him act. So in the first episode that I'm in, when I'm playing the video game and he slams on the desk, that was not scripted. We had done a couple of takes where he just goes, "You're fired," and he doesn't slam on the desk. And then we did one take, and I saw him like go off and talk to the director for like a split second. And I think he was warning the director, like, hey, I'm going to slam the table, but don't tell him. And then we start the scene, and he slams on the table, and then you see my reaction like that, and that's a real reaction. I'm like, oh, that was nuts, and I loved it. In that moment, I'm like, oh, man, that's so cool. Like, he really got, like, the best reaction out of me. But I think the biggest thing I've learned from Bruce is before you start filming, before you start rehearsing, you should kind of play around with the scene and in the space where you're going to film the scene. So a lot of our scenes happen in his office or in like my little office area. And what I'll see him do, because we have like a different director every episode, what I'll see him do is he'll just want the actors in there and just the director. And then just the actors and the director will move around the room and just kind of see where it works best. And then the director and Bruce will talk and be like, okay, so this is why I want it this way, and this is why I think we should do it this way. And then every single time that they work together, it's just like the scene works so well, and it's so smooth. And everyone looks so good doing it. So I thought, I never knew you could do that with like a director. You can like give him your input. Like, hey, do you mind if we try this? And that was when I first started filming The Resident. And then I'm actually kind of proud of myself for this one. We had one scene, and when I was rehearsing it the night before, I was reading it and I visualized it as a very specific way. And the next day when we went to film, we're doing the same thing. You know, Bruce is kind of like talking to the director, kind of feeling out the room. And I go, hey, do you mind if I have a suggestion? And Bruce and the director kind of look at each other. And Bruce looks at me and he goes like, yes, like I've been waiting for this. Like, go, please. And I gave my suggestion where it's a very small scene, and it's just Grayson walks in. It's the scene with the plane crash. And Grayson walks in and he hands Belle the painkiller, and Belle is on the ground stretching or whatever. And Grayson goes, okay, what else can I do to help? And Belle says, leave. And that's it. That's the whole scene. It's like maybe 10 seconds. And the way that they had planned it out before was completely different. But my suggestion was, okay, Grayson walks in, hands it. And I think the whole joke is, he sits down. As soon as he sits down, Belle tells him to leave, and that's the whole joke. And they loved it. They're like, "Yeah, that's perfect." So you sit down. He tells you to leave. You don't even you bounce basically. You never get to settle. And I was like, "Yes, that was my idea." So I'm proud of that one. And Bruce is the reason why I felt like I was comfortable to kind of chime in and give my 2 cents. Was
your chemistry between the two of you guys like natural? Like, did you just like get it from the first moment that you met him or something?
So yes and no. I think the characters Grayson and Belle had a lot of conflicts because they're completely different. But in the way as actors, me and Bruce definitely kind of like, we understood what we wanted to accomplish. And I knew I was more of comedic relief than like the drama part of the show.
Yeah.
And I think And I think Bruce really enjoyed it because, like I said earlier, you know, he really enjoys comedy. He's a big fan of comedy. And when he saw our scenes together, he really enjoyed the fact that he got to finally, like, show his comedy side. Yeah, we definitely had chemistry.
This is why we need Grayson back. You two are so hilarious together.
Yeah, I honestly, I have so much fun every time. Yeah, I hope I come back. We'll see what happens. But Jeff Goldblum, he was really cool, and exactly how you think Jeff Goldblum would be in real life is exactly how he is. He's just this quirky guy. He's got these thoughts just coming out of him at all time, and you don't know. And this is my second time working with him, actually, because I filmed an Apartments.com commercial 3 years ago, where I had a very small role. I had one line, and I was on screen for maybe 5 seconds, but this one was much bigger. And you know that part where we're sitting on a bench? We filmed that. We were on that bench for probably 2 hours filming, and he just starts saying the weirdest things to me. He looks at me, and he goes off on a monologue, and I'm just sitting there like, and then like after 2 minutes, he stops and he goes, "How did that sound?" And I go, "Really good. Like, you sound like you're I don't know, you sound like a professional in whatever you were talking about." And he goes, "Those might be lines from a movie I might be filming soon." And I go, that blew my mind. So you guys have a little scoop.
Okay, so your character also shared one drunken night with Minna.
Yeah.
You broke the. You told on her.
I didn't tell on her with Belle, because Belle would have probably fired her. Like, you wore my suit?
About her love for the Raptor.
For the Raptor, yeah. Yeah. So, it's, oh man, as a fan, I'm like so frustrated, because I'm like, just date! Just kiss!
Yes, thank you for, that's us too.
Yeah, that's the majority of our Facebook group.
That drunken night with me. Oh, the pictures? I think. Yeah, you guys want to talk about the pictures?
Do you have any of those pictures?
I don't. Most of the pictures you guys saw actually made it in the episode. But the crazy part of those pictures is we only had like 5 minutes to shoot those pictures. The pictures like where we're drinking and we're at a bar. Those pictures only 5 minutes, and that's not a lot of time for.
Were those shot by Guy, the set photographer? The
set photographer. Yeah. He's the one that got those. But we were using that bar for a different scene. So it was a scene with like Conrad and Nick and Devin. And they were filming a scene. So in between when they would yell cut, me and Nina would just go and like take the pictures real quick. Okay, action, and we'd stop. So we would be like waiting. Okay, cut. And me and Shawnette would just take pictures. And it was ridiculous. The things we were doing were just, like, you see those pictures, at one point I'm going,
yeah, Shawnette with the guitar or something like that.
So those were the bar mitzvah. So for the bar mitzvah pictures, those, we had like a whole hour to shoot those. And we they hired like a bunch of teenagers to look, because it's a bar mitzvah. And I think eventually it wasn't decided officially that Grayson is Jewish, but it just happened to work that way. Oh, so when they introduced my dad, okay, so Zip, Jeffrey Cantor, the episode where they introduce him and they're playing golf and all that with Belle, and then there's the dinner scene with me. Instead, the scripted line was cheers, and instead of going cheers, he went l'chaim, And I went, L'chaim, and we just chugged our drinks, and I'm like, there it is. My character is now Jewish.
Is there anything about the cast that would surprise the fans at all?
Well, yes and no. So, I'm the one. I can single-handedly say I was the person that showed Malcolm Old Town Road. He had never heard the song Old Town Road. And this was like when it first came out, and I'm like, and so I was in the hair and makeup trailer with him, and he's talking, I forgot who he was talking to, but they're talking about country music and how black artists like sing country music and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh. And so then they ask me, and I'm like, I don't know any country at all. I don't listen to country. And so, but I go, the only country song that I sing nowadays is Old Town Road. And he goes, what's Old Town Road? And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And so the makeup trailer has speakers in the ceiling. Right. And so I hook up my phone to the ceiling speakers, and I just start blasting Old Town Road. And at first, so this is how it goes. I'm gonna take my horse to the old... And he's like nodding his head like, okay, yeah. Till I can't no. He's like, oh, not bad. I got the horses in the... He didn't like it. He did not like Old Town Road, let me tell you that. Well, because he was expecting country, and that, you know, he's a big country fan, I think. But then... another kind of little fun fact is that Morris had no idea what TikTok was.
Really?
So I showed him TikTok, and it was so funny because he was actually very excited to learn about it because he'd heard about it. He just didn't know what it was, and so we spent like in between takes, I would just show him like what TikTok was, different examples of TikTok. And so I can say that I showed Morris Chestnut TikTok. Yeah, I don't really have anything else that would surprise people because everyone's very, very nice and everyone's really, really genuine. So, yeah, like Emily Van Camp, she'll bring her dog to set like almost every day.
I love her photos of Frankie.
But I never met Frankie until like probably 9 months into filming the show, and I'm like, finally, the famous dog. Like it was so weird. But I think I met Frankie before I met Matt.
What about Bruce? What's your favorite moment with Bruce?
Bruce behind the scenes. Bruce he likes to roast. He's very into roasting. So we'll just have times where we're going back and forth, just roasting each other. And like, his favorite roast is like, we'll be like blocking out a scene, and he'll go like, "Yeah, Radek, this is what real acting looks like." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." But he does it out of, you know, comedy's sake, and I'll just be like, "I'm gonna use my phone to FaceTime. It's like talking to other people through the, you know." Yeah, I feel like Bruce and I, personality-wise, are very, very similar. But I get to play my personality pretty close on camera, and he has to be like, yes, I am Mr. Dr. Man. So, yeah, actually, one Grayson Bell moment that I really appreciate is the Stuck as Forward Plot episode where Grayson's mom comes to the hospital and she's got gonorrhea, and then Grayson comes in and like, "Did you give my mom gonorrhea?"
Oh, and, I remember
and
that.
he almost punches him, and Grayson, I punched the door on the way out, and that was, you know, no one told me to do that. It wasn't scripted or anything, but I did it the first time, which is the take that they used, but we did that scene again, and I did it the second time, but I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I can be even angrier than that, and I went, boom. Like, I really hit that real hard. Yeah, I didn't really hurt it. I was just like, oh, that was a little stronger than I wanted it to be. But at the end of that episode is when Grayson and Belle have that kind of heart to heart when they're donating blood. And Belle is like, I could have fired you for all these different reasons, but standing up for your mom, I'm not going to fire you for that. They'll have that heart to heart moment. And I thought that was like such a good, I really enjoyed that. Cause I'm like, Grayson sees Belle as like a father figure. Cause he doesn't have a great relationship with his dad.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that because it kind of is like a father-son relationship. Even though Belle doesn't even think about it, Grayson's like looking up to this guy.
If you weren't an actor, what would you do? What would your career be?
It's kind of cliche to say because every actor will probably say this, but I think directing would be awesome. But I feel like that's too cliche, so I'm going to try to like not think that way. When I was going to school, I was actually going to school majoring in marketing and with a minor in film. And I marketing is just fun. Like I really enjoyed all the classes that I was taking, and my brother owns a marketing company now, so like that would be. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the advertisement side of it, where like you get to think outside the box and be creative. But yeah, and then also actually, okay. So all right, so we went then. Okay, I said directing. Now I said marketing. Let's see what else I could do. Things I would like to do are like, I'm not a very talented musician, but I like to play music. But I don't know if I could make that a career. I never really thought about what I would do if I didn't have acting, which is probably not smart because acting is not a very stable profession.
You're still young.
Yeah, but I would love to do acting for the rest of my life. It's so much fun. It really is fun. It is work. Like I don't think a lot of people realize like how much work goes into being an actor, but the fact that you can do your job and have fun is something that I will never take for granted. Like every day that when I go to set and they're like, okay, your call time's 5 a.m. I'm like, awesome. I don't even care. I will be there at 5 a.m. Like, don't worry about it.
How are you similar to Grayson and different?
Ooh.
That's a fan question that was posted for you.
I don't want to roast Grayson, but I feel like he's kind of naive. I think he always tries to do what's right and what he thinks is best. He doesn't want to like hurt anyone or be mean to anyone, but he. That time that he ratted out Belle to Kit when Belle had gambled a patient of his, that was not good, right? Grayson thought he was just having a conversation with Kit, and then Kit got really mad at Belle, and so I think we're similar in the way where we want to do the right thing, but Grayson does not always think of the consequences, as where I always. Try to think ahead of what am I saying and how is it gonna affect other people, and then I think Grayson's very loyal, and that's a thing. He's very loyal to Belle, and he doesn't want to betray Belle in any way. And I think I'm very loyal to my friends and my family in real life, so we're very similar in that regard too. One way we're different, I would never pimp out my mom. But then again, Grayson's kind of thinking outside the box. He's going, hey, Belle is firing me. How about, and he's still got a job to this day. So job security. Maybe he's a lot smarter than I thought. I don't know.
The thing about Grayson that I love is that he's very childlike.
Yeah.
Innocent. Is that something that you chose to portray, or was that something that the writers or somebody else said, okay, this is how we feel he's good to be?
That's a good question. I don't know how we got there. I think it's probably a collaboration because again, like I was just supposed to be in that one episode originally, and then it turned into what it is today. And I think the way I played it was very childlike, and it worked. So they kept writing it like that. I think they just saw that the way I was playing it in the first few episodes kept working. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if that was probably the writers. If I don't know, then it's probably the writers. But yeah, I've definitely grown as an actor, especially watching Bruce, because Bruce is just a genius. And it's one of those things where I'm just blessed to have teachers like that, because I would say that's a better teacher than going to an acting studio. So I think as an actor, I've definitely grown. I think, I as myself, Radek, I would say I've grown because now I've realized like how much work really goes into acting, which before I was like, oh, I'm in one episode, like in and out, that's it. But now that I hold the character of Grayson, and I have to, it is more like a job. So I think I've matured in that way, where I realize I have to take it really, really seriously, more seriously than I've ever taken any other role. Like I get to have fun when I'm on set and I'm as Grayson, but then as soon as they yell cut and Grayson's done, I have to go back into professional mode. So yeah, I think I've grown, and I think Grayson's also grown.
Okay, so you want to do this lightly ground, just a small little one. But I just ask you like random questions that you have to answer with the first word that pops into your mouth. Pops into your mind. Okay. Favorite dinosaur?
T-Rex.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Favorite color?
Ooh. Black.
What's your favorite food?
Pasta alla vodka.
Hobbies?
Painting.
Oh, really? Do you have?
I'm not very good, but I started recently. Yeah, I'm not great, but we'll see.
What would you like to say to the fans, if you could?
Thank you. Honestly, like that's, I think also a really big reason why Grayson is still around is because of you, the fans. Every time I get on Twitter and I see tweets about Grayson, going like, oh my God, Grayson and Belle always getting in trouble, like all these things. And then I just want to, just thank you. Seriously, shout out to you guys. Thank you for liking Grayson. And thank you for wanting him to stay around. And I also want to give a shout out to Maddie. Sometimes she goes by Mads, but thank you, because she's like, she does these really, really cool,
drawings.
And it's just, she comes up with her own, comments and stories. And that's so clever. It's so good. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who likes the show, and thank you to you too. Seriously.
Hey, how does that ever happen to you, where you get called by your character's name instead of Radek?
Yeah, on set sometimes when someone just forgets my name, they go, Grayson. And I'm like, I don't.
Where did you get your name from? Radek seems very unique.
It's from a hockey player. So my dad refereed for the NHL. And he met this hockey player named Radek, and he liked it. He's like, okay, cool. There we go. So me and my oldest brother are named after hockey players. Yeah.
That's so cool. You're like the only person I know of with that name.
You know what's crazy is I've only ever met two other Radeks in my life. One, when I was playing tennis in high school, and I heard like the other team's coach yell after me, and I'm like, what? And he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to someone on the other team. And then this one happened more recently. I was at an audition, and so there's a sign-in sheet, and I had just signed in, and 5 minutes later they call my name. And so I'm like, oh, that's awesome, like I don't have to wait around too long. So I walk up and some other guy's walking up with me, and I'm like, this is weird. And we get up to the guy that yelled our names, and he goes, Radek? We both go, yeah. And we look at each other like, what? And he goes, oh, sorry, Radek, blah, blah, blah. I don't know his last name. And I go, no way is your name Radek. And he goes, dude, I've never met another Radek. And it was just like one of those, you know that meme with Spider-Man where they're just like pointing at each other?
Yeah.
That's what it was.
But thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, this was a lot of fun. And I haven't talked Resident in a long time because, you know, of COVID and I've just been stuck at home. Yeah. But anyway, thank you. Seriously, guys, thank you for having me on. I had fun.
We're gonna petition Amy and everybody else to get sit back.
But yeah. And just everyone. I honestly, I don't. If we were just talking and without the interview, just like we were having a cup of coffee, and you guys truly wanted to ask me like what I thought of the show and everything, there's not one thing that I can complain about. There's not one mean person. There's nothing that's ever gone wrong. Just everyone is super professional, super, super nice. Yeah. So I'm glad to have worked on it and hopefully to keep working on it. But then again, I wouldn't be mad if they were like, hey, it just doesn't serve the story, because I'm going to still keep watching it as a fan. So yeah.
Thank you for joining us. We're really grateful.
If I'm back after season 4, I will be right back on your show.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes.
We can talk about Grayson again.
Yeah, Grayson's Anatomy. No.
Grayson.
Yeah.
You know, you should do, like, I don't know if you want to do that, but you could, like, do your own, I don't know, YouTube channel, Grayson Anatomy, and then, like, critique all medical shows or whatever, except, like, awesome. The character of Grayson. You know what I mean?
But you know what's funny? That would be a great web series for, like, the Resident YouTube. Is like Grayson starts his own YouTube channel.
Yeah!
And he starts vlogging around chest day. And he's like, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy, Grayson.
That would be so awesome.
Okay, so I do have a request in a way. If I am back season 4, I want to take over the Resident's Instagram for like at least one day. I want to show fans around. I want to like talk to the actors. I want to talk to everyone.
We need Grayson back. So many stories.
I do have to. I have to head out. I have to move my room around. That's one thing about moving is just you don't realize how much stuff you have until you really have to move. So.
But thank you for joining us, Radek.
Yeah, thank you. Seriously, next year we'll do this again.
Yes, definitely. Okay.
We hope to see you on season 4.
Me too.
Bye. So, I just want to thank Radek for joining us on the Resident Rulebreakers this week. It was amazing interviewing him. We are going to hold you to your promise, Radek, on the joining us again.
We'll put it in the calendar for next year, 2021.
Yeah. Some things that we want to note before we go is that, obviously, again, next week we are going to be talking to Jessica Miesel. So, Nurse Jessica. So, that's already on the books. Also, there are things we need to get to before we sign off. The Patreon account. The podcast is growing exponentially. We are very excited about all the activity on the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And because of that, to keep it going, we need financial help to keep it going for software and equipment, because I edit on very cheap software. So it's really, that's what it's for. And so any dollar amount will do. Seriously, $1 and you can cancel it at any time. It's www.patreon.com/The Resident Podcast. So,
yes.
There's that. The ways to contact us, obviously, we have the Facebook page, which is the Resident Rulebreakers Podcast. We have the Facebook group, which we've been talking about forever, which is the Resident Fox Fans. At the top of the page for the podcast, there's a little button that says Join Group. If you're not in the group already, you can click that button, join the group, answer the questions, and one of the 4 admins, Camille, myself, Brittany, or Amy, will let you into the group. And so that we have Instagram, which is at the Resident Podcast. And then we have our Twitter account, which is at Resident Podcast. The "the" is not there. At Resident Podcast. And so all of those, we're very excited to see how they're growing. We're just within days, they've just been growing. So we're very excited to see it. Thank you guys so much. We want to note that the interview that you just saw was recorded on May 25th, 2020. So it was recorded quite a few weeks ago. And you're just now getting it. But we did want to note that there was about a month of time here that lapsed before you're seeing what you're seeing now. And also listening to us, obviously the podcast stays in an audio-only form on certain platforms, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you know there's a video-only format now. So thank you. Subscribe to click the little button if you haven't. So you don't miss these interviews. You don't miss what we're doing. And because obviously we've got weeks upon weeks upon weeks until the show returns. So there's that. Also we have an email. You can contact us at theresidentRulebreakers@gmail.com. So, tune in next week to hear from Jessica about her time on The Resident. We're going to talk to her about working with Tasso. And Feldmore.
And also we're gonna play in Irving and Jessica's wedding. See what Jessica thinks their wedding is going to be like.
So, tune in next week for our interview with Jessica Miesel. So, bye guys.